This show is an opinion-based show. The opinions expressed here are of the person who expressed them and not a reflection of how League Gaming or its staff speaks or thinks. This show is for mature audience.
You know what? Fuck that. You guys get so butthurt about this show and our opinions. I don't even know why I'd bother putting a disclaimer. You pulled the mercy card once, just contact him when you get butthurt, cause it's coming.
Welcome to the LG Doghouse Presents Q&A with Brodie. I've got Jet, I've got Air Raiders, and I've got this shitbag right here. I've also got Crispy. You're going to hear him breathe every once in a while, but he won't actually say anything. See? There it is. Alright, guys. There's not a lot of people in here yet. But today, we set this up so that we could talk to Brodie before the season starts and just kind of get a feel for the new season and how it's going to play out. Maybe even talk about some things that we might want to see later on as LG progresses. I mean, the first and foremost, are there any new rule changes this season?
There was some talks. We asked the managers last season during the playoffs what suggestions they had and some ideas they had. So one of the things that was bounced around was the idea to allow a time frame where training camp players who sign up would be eligible to switch their positions. It's actually quite often we receive a lot of players that are new that sign up to LG and it's like, hey man, I signed up as a goalie, I play lefty, like I don't know what I did wrong, blah blah blah. So in those situations, and obviously if they're early on training camp players, it'd be nice to be able to give them an opportunity to switch to a position where they're at, or maybe they're assigned to a team and they're listed as a centerman, their team's got 14 centers and no defensemen, but they're actually a decent defenseman as well. Gives them more opportunity for our new players to perhaps crack a lineup at a secondary position that maybe they're better at. So that's one of the things we've talked about for sure. The strike rules have been something that have been talked at higher levels for a while. When I say strike rules, I'm talking in regards to like how you file for players to be removed. So right now the rules state that 3 strikes in a single week for missing game strikes. 3 of those in a single week results in a ban, but nothing other than that is actually stipulated in the rules. So one of the ideas that was passed around would be 5 strikes in a single season would result in the same thing as well. So if you get 5 strikes in a season, eligible to be banned. And the other thing that was on top of that was 2 strikes in a playoff series would be the same thing as well. Because during the playoffs, obviously, it's pretty hard to give someone 3 strikes for a week because there's only 7 games. So we did feel that most series go 6 games. It gives a manager an opportunity to at least hit a guy with 2 strikes in that time, showing he's inactive during the playoffs. That's a less likely issue that we don't really see very often, but there has been situations where player gets upset with manager. It's the playoffs. Player no-shows and kind of feels invincible, especially if they know the rules well enough to understand that I can't get 3 strikes in this round. I can't get 3 strikes all playoffs, so I'm untouchable, right? So we're kind of looking at options like that to make some adjustments to kind of better the experience for our managers and give a little bit more control over the team and in that sense. So those are the only 2 things that really come to mind right now when we talk about rule changes and stuff. So we also are looking at, obviously, the last time we were all together, we spoke about potentially having game of the nights and stuff. So in order for that to be possible, we have to move our Thursday game. So there's been some talks, and I spoke recently in regards to how we want to handle that. So what'll probably happen tonight, maybe after this actually, I'll post up a thread with a poll for the community. So the CHL players get a kind of say in what's going on in the direction of this. And then obviously our CHL managers will get a say as well in regards to what we could do or how this could work out, where we could move this Thursday game to what time slot works best. Right now, the NHL and AHL both don't have Thursday games either. It's kind of an open time slot we're going to be using for our esports hockey league. So at the same time, to move the CHL to that same schedule, it leaves that vacancy. So media guys like you guys can pull a game that Thursday, do some pregame, do some postgame, and kind of really utilize that time slot better to showcase 2 teams that are taking place. That are playing against each other. So those are kind of the only things that come to mind this season. Not a lot of changes, that are really required. I don't think things have gone pretty smooth in the last couple of years, implementing our positional lock and getting the CHL where it is at the full 60 team capacity. So right now, I can't foresee a ton of other things that really need to be changed. But I'm open to suggestions, and the community definitely has ideas sometimes. So we'll see where it goes from there. But that's what we're sitting at right now. 2 or 3 weeks out from the season.
All right, why don't you catch your breath real quick? I mean, that was... I don't know if you took a breath in that whole thing.
Breathing the whole time.
Yeah. Anyway, so you were talking about 2 strikes during playoffs. That doesn't normally happen to teams up there. I mean, you never see the top scorer quit during playoffs or anything, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never seen it.
Yeah. Defective Lego. I'm talking to you. I'm looking at you, defective Lego.
I don't know what you're talking
about. Anyway, so you're talking about possibly moving games from Thursday, which it's only 1 game right now anyway. So that wouldn't be a huge change. Where would we move it? What day of the week would be? It seems to be the best for the NHL, AHL.
Okay, so that's going to be the poll, essentially. I'm going to ask you guys what you want to do. In my opinion, Sundays is kind of out of the question. A lot of people watch Game of Thrones or they're watching Walking Dead or whatever. And then everyone kind of likes to start their week out with a good, fresh Monday morning. So most people don't want to be up late Sunday anyways. Monday kind of tends to be in that same boat. So I'm thinking Tuesday or Wednesday are likely going to be the better way to do it. The game's going to move to a 10:30 time slot. So I know that's going to be a shock to the system. Some people are like, oh my God, that's so late, blah, blah, blah. But we do have West Coast guys. It is 10:30. We actually, the CHL is starting to, is like, either really, really old guys or really, really young guys. So we have guys that are kind of could play these times, and it's 1 game a week. All of this is 1 game. I know when we implemented 2 11 p.m. games in the NHL, there was like uproar, like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Because when we came from VHL, NHL was 9 and 10, like prime time, and we moved 2 games to 11, and it was like the world was coming to an end. But so I think, in my opinion, it would kind of be cool to do 3 on a Wednesday. Wednesday, at the very end of the week, makes that day a little bit more valuable. Maybe you're down 6 points from first in your division. After Wednesday's done, go 3-0. Next thing you know, you're tied for the division lead. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but we're gonna let the community decide. We're gonna let the managers decide what they feel is best for availability. Tuesday or Wednesday, in my opinion, are probably the better of the 2 days. So we'll see. The NHL schedules that were posted, their day it rotates. So some teams play 3 games on Monday, and some teams play 3 games on Tuesday. It depends on the week or whatever's going on, but that's how the NHL schedule is set up right now. It's not consistent. It's all different because of the 31 teams.
Is there any backlash as far as the non-consistency in that?
Some people are upset because it's change, but at the same time, if you want to introduce an odd number of teams, there's only so many ways you can do it. So that's how we had to do it. We had to end up setting it up where we took. I think we ended up going with 11 official game slots. It was 10 official game times, and you only play 9 of those a week. And then 1 week you play all 10 because that's the way it always has been in the NHL. So there's been a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, it's a Monday. Maybe you're going to play 9, 10, 11 on Monday. Or you're going to play 9, 10, 11 on Tuesday. Like, it's going to change week to week, and there's always a little bit of backlash when it comes to that type of stuff. But I think at the same time, people have to balance it out. What do you want more? Do you want Vegas as a team, or do you not, right? Those are the options. So I think it's going to work out well. The PlayStation side of the NHL had no Thursday game last year either. We moved that Thursday game to the Tuesday time slot at 11, which they liked a lot better as well. The issue is like I said, having 31 teams, a team essentially is sitting out every game slot of the week, so that it's odd at times how it plays out. But the guy who made our schedules did a really good job to make sure it's as consistent as possible. And the only variation will be that your 9th game maybe Monday at 11 or Tuesday at 11. That's pretty much the only variation. All the other game times are the exact same.
Was there any problems with managers on the PlayStation side? Because one of the things that I was worried about with losing the Thursday game and stacking 3 games on one night was, since you only have to sign up for 4 to be able to be scheduled for your 3, is like everybody on your team signing up for the day that there's 3 games and then 1 other game slot, and then running in the availability issues for the rest of the week. Was there anything like that happening on the PSN, or did it run pretty smoothly?
The PlayStation League tends to run a lot smoother in a lot of aspects than Xbox, just because it's new. It's kind of, they still have that honeymoon feeling, that fresh feeling, which kind of makes it a little bit better. But some managers did say they found it a little bit difficult at times to, found a little bit difficult scheduling at times. So, but there hasn't been a big concern that needs to be addressed just yet. It's going to be interesting on the Xbox side of things. We do have some players that have been around for a while that, if they don't get their way, they try their best to manipulate the rules. So we'll see how that all plays out in the end. And worst case, we'll step in and adjust it accordingly. I know last year we had a guy that was only giving like certain amount of availability on the PlayStation side, and he knew that if he got banned from PlayStation, he'd get banned from Xbox, and his Xbox team was doing better than his PlayStation team, so he was really kind of fucking his Xbox or his PlayStation team around, and we ended up just like reviewing the whole case. He ended up getting like 6 or 7 strikes in the duration of like 4 or 5 weeks. So, but not enough to get removed, right? So at the same time, we just stepped in and said enough's enough. Obviously you're not committed to both. You bit off more than you can chew, and then we ended up just pulling them from PlayStation and both leagues anyway. So that's how we addressed that. So it also kind of like inspired the whole idea to have this new 5-strike total for the season. So hopefully we'll be able to address it and go from there. But yeah, hopefully we don't run into too many issues.
All right. You got anything else, Freddie?
The other thing was the possibility of adding a 4th conference. Like I think last time, I don't know if it made the show, we talked about adding a 4th line to the CHL for to get people playing. But what about adding a 4th conference or a 4th league?
Zeno and I talked about that as well too, in regards to adding something that was different. We bounced around ideas of like adding the ECHL and then keeping it like so they'd have their own playoffs, their own everything, and they wouldn't like cross over to compete against the Memorial Cup or any of that stuff. It would just be like a 4th additional league that runs at that same tier. We've talked about that. Zeno had an idea about doing that same thing, but using European teams and stuff. So we have talked about it. We haven't really made any progress on that at all. We're likely not going to do it this season. 100%, we're not doing it, and we're still bouncing around the possibility of what we could do to make that happen. We have to hire a hell of a lot more staff because adding that additional league.
What about incorporating the ECHL into the CHL?
That's what. Like into the CHL?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing we could do as well too. So
it would
the winners of all.
It would fix the playoff problem too.
Yeah, I don't like it because it's not like real, but I have thought about how it could potentially.
At some point, we're not. I mean, are we really real hockey? Like, if we were real hockey, then the top line would be playing every day, and then they'd be switching out during the game every 10 minutes. I mean, we're not real hockey.
Yeah, but we're a simulation. We're as close as we could be, though.
Right.
The cards were dealt.
However, with the way that Xbox works and the way that real life works, they're two completely different entities. Sometimes you got to make these changes. That doesn't. The host team thing doesn't fly in an Xbox league because you're not carrying over the same people from season to season.
No,
right.
Sure.
So we ended up changing that. What's to say we don't just change it so that we have another league competing for the Memorial Cup?
Yeah.
More teams, more competition. It all fall under the same system. We don't have to get another, Zeno or freaking Titus to run a whole separate league.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's definitely one of the things we did talk about as well too. We kind of just said, what if we just say fuck it and just add that 4th league, make them compete all together, and kind of go from there. Like I said, it's all up in the air right now. We're not sure. Sign-up numbers have been fucking crazy high early. Like we're like 1,800 right now already. So the more and more I look at that, the more and more I wonder like, is next season the season we do it? I find the middle season of a game is like the highest sign-up numbers, the most active on the website is like people get the game for Christmas. Black Friday is a big part of it. It's hockey, real hockey's going on, so everyone kind of like has that to incorporate as well too. So we're gonna see how this season goes. We're gonna see if we can. There wasn't a lot of real issues in the CHL last year either. Like forfeit numbers were like really impressive. Like I always said, if we can keep forfeit numbers below 3% of the games, I'm happy with that. And it was like the CHL was like 1.87% of games were forfeits. Was like so I'm really really happy with how that went. So there isn't a lot of things we really have to adjust to make it better. So depending on what the numbers are this year, maybe we could look at expanding to the ECHL next season. I know the ECHL has 27 teams in the game, but we used one of them in the AHL, so we'd actually have 26 teams that would be in that league, which is an even number, which is fucking great as well. So 26 teams, 17 players per team. Like it may be the direction we go for the second season of NHL 18.
But at the same time, you don't want to spread yourself too thin. And here we have this other league, and it's going to end up like the ECHL last time, where we had this league and these teams, and at the end of the season, there just wasn't the player base to keep up with it. I think before we go and expand into a 4th conference and do a whole another set of teams, I think the 4th line needs to be something that's implemented before that. Because the 4th line, you're adding 5-6 players to a team. If you count in TCs and stuff like that, that's another 8 people per team, as opposed to trying to fill 20 teams or 13 teams of 30 skaters again.
Yeah, but the CHL numbers last season alone were almost fucking 3,000 players. But there was almost 3,000 CHL players last year, which is crazy. 60 teams at 17-man roster. It's only 10, 20. So we had like an additional 800 or 900 players on top of that. Like it's crazy to think that we got those numbers as quickly as we did in the CHL. So I hear what you're saying. I always kind of thought, in my mind, progressively, I always thought going to the fourth line would probably be, in my mind, was like we'd do that, then add another tier. But right now, with the numbers we have and the signups we have, it's almost like it's try to get as many people as we can into that next tier. But it also, and it comes down to the quality of managers and the quality of management applications and all that stuff, right? Like, we need 26 additional owners. So, and I'm not just saying like, well, let's just give ownership to every Joe and the dog, right? Like,
Maniac.
There you go. It's nice. It'd be nice to be able to put people in those positions that aren't going to be headaches, know what they're doing, have some experience. Like, I don't know, it's a fine line for sure about what direction we go for expansion, and maybe we only go with like 12 ECHL teams to start. Don't go the full 26, just go 12. So it's only 12 additional owners, 6 and 6. But then the argument will be, well, those guys had an easier run to get to the Memorial Cup because they're a smaller team, blah blah blah, right? So it's kind of, there's lots of pros and cons to every aspect of this. So, we're gonna wait and see how the season goes, and we're gonna continually, monitor and talk and evaluate as the season goes on, and hopefully we'll come up with an idea to make this as good as we could.
I mean, I think if we're gonna do it, you're gonna have to do at least 20 teams to start, in order for not everybody to bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe even just 2 conferences. Bam. I don't know.
But even if you're gonna go 20 teams, why not just go the full 26? You know what I mean? Like, it's the full 26.
Well, it's not. I mean, even if you went 20 teams, you say 16 make the playoffs. I think 16 make the playoffs in every league, right? 16 teams, and then even like the Q only has 18 teams, and 16 of them make the playoffs. So doing 20 wouldn't be too awful. And then it's less owners you need and less managers and.
Yeah, no, it's a fair argument for sure.
I definitely just like it to solve that host league problem, especially because after we talked about the whole host league thing, we saw it actually backfire this season with North Bay not giving a fuck about their series with Owen Sound, and then just stomping them in the round robin and going on to win the Memorial Cup anyway. Yeah. So it's like they threw the OHL finals because who cares, and then they still win the Memorial Cup because they had
to rest their thumbs. I mean,
yeah, I hear you.
Had to rest their thumbs. They got to get some Krispy Kreme Pro thumbs. That's what they need.
But even too, like it may be time to even look at what our options are for the host team for this season too. Like nothing's in stone really in regards to that. So if we wanted to for this season, we could just say like, we're going the top 3, the team. So the Q, the O, the W, the team with the highest points in the season out of those winners, gets the host. The other 2 teams play a best of 5 to play the final, right? Like we could do that for this season as well too, since we have a lot of time to discuss all that and post it, make it clear so we don't do a home team, right? But I don't know. It's hard to say. You're right though. The easy way to do it would be we have the player base. If we hired a little bit more staff, and then we put time into making sure we have quality owners, we could probably expand the ECHL to that 4th league in the OHL, and then eliminate that problem altogether. So, it's definitely a good idea. It's a really good idea.
All right, Jet, was there something else you needed to come? Had?
No, man. I think that pretty much covers it in regards to that. I mean, as a West Coaster, we dream of adding a 4th line to the CHL, balancing out those time slots, and adding a late game Monday and Tuesday. That would be, you could put a whole West Coast line out there. There's a lot of good West Coast players that don't get a lot of nods or don't get as much notoriety as they should because they know they're paying to schedule. I mean, 5:30, man, I am not one of them. I'm not a problem. But there's a lot of guys out there, 5:30 games, man, they're just getting home from school. Some of them play real hockey. They got time. They got stuff like this afterwards. It's tough to make it. And that 4th line adding those 2 late games, balancing the late games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if it came down to it. I mean, it's a dream for West Coast CHL players.
What's the breakdown right now on West Coast? So do we have a ton of West Coast players?
We have more than there was when I started in the league. When I started in the league, there wasn't a lot of West Coast players that I knew of. And then as the seasons have gone, the last 2 or 3 seasons, there's definitely been a pretty good influx of West Coast players. I mean, it's still definitely an East Coast dominated league.
Yeah, 'cause I know the numbers- Go ahead.
There's a post at least once a season where some West Coasters asking why can't we have later games or change the game times because we can't. They're too early for the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, I know the guys from EA that play in the CHL like play from work because they know it's because they're still there when the game times are, right. So I definitely understand that it would be nice to have a little bit later. I know it's kind of funny because when we started the CHL up as the feeder league, there was a ton of like really young players, like a lot of young guys, and that's why we went to the early game time because like the majority of the league was like high school kids from Ontario, right? So they're all like 14, 15-year-old kids. So 8:30 was kind of that good time we had, and we never really had any issues until like the league grew as much as it did. Now we're at a point where the CHL is bigger than, like I said, the CHL last season alone was just shy. Yeah, it was just shy of 3,000 players. Because when I put an alert out to each of I can do it to individual leagues. It shows how many players it's being sent to. And at the end of the season last year, like when we did the last show, like that went out to like 2,700 players. Like that's more than what the NHL and NHL is, right? So, and when you have a league that's that big and that diverse, well, obviously we're gonna have players from all over the place. And even too, like there's been a lot of talk, like Triz has been saying for a long time, like let's expand to Europe, like, let's get a European team. So like you sign in on LG at like noon, and there's a game going on in Europe, right? So that's something we've been looking at as well too as a site is like what are the possibilities of us bringing in a European league, whether it be like ESHL style where it's club teams for money, or what if it's simulation, whatever they want to do, right? We're kind of curious about what we could do to get more hockey on the site at different times. So we'll wait and see for sure. Mike, you're muted.
Anybody else have any serious questions before I get into Audacity's questions? I cheat. Best West Coast player here. Oh, bad West Coast player here. Ain't that the truth? All right, so nothing? All right. So, Audacity asks,
Yep.
do you wake up looking like a douchey, or do you have to make yourself look that way?
I'm not even gonna answer that. Like, obviously he hasn't looked in the mirror because he's horrendous looking. He looks like a bag of milk that like has no hair.
All right.
It's all on his chest in the shape of a penis.
Pretty much. All right. Next Audacity question. Would you say you're into dudes with big dicks or small ones?
None.
It's not an option.
Not a choice.
I didn't
Taking
go
big questions here.
Yeah. Come on.
Let's go small.
Okay.
You're in jet.
Yeah, right? If you had to get fucked by one, Crosby or Malkin?
Malkin looks just like kind of fucking slow. Like he looks like he wouldn't know what to really do. Like he looks lost. And everyone thinks Crosby's gay anyway, so might as well just go that route. Looks like he knows what he's doing.
All right. The next Audacity question. Had your eye always been lazy, or is it getting lazier with age?
Definitely getting lazier with age.
Who is the greatest Doghouse host ever?
Haven't you been the only one?
All right, co-hosts.
Uh.
Present company excluded.
Damn.
Okay, Campos then.
I want
Yeah, we have to hear about
I
that
want whatever
all next
you're
season.
smoking.
He's not
Yeah, we're
that-
gonna hear about that forever now.
Thanks.
Rip us.
All right. And the final Audacity question. How old were you when you decided to start your transformation? You're a guy now, right?
I had long hair as a kid, so it took a while. So I'd say like 18.
All right. So there we go. And now we are going to cut into mail time.
This goes out to all the women in the world. It's especially her. Just listen when I'm saying and do it and take a chance. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put your hand up on my hip. When you dip, I dip, we dip. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put yours, then I put mine. Then we can dip down low and roll it. Just get on the floor like I said before. Y'all remember that down low. Just put a little dip with it. Now roll those hips with it. Pop it, push it, rock it, roll it. Can't control it, I come hold it. It's all in fun, so take a chance. Just get on the floor and do that dance, shine. Roll those hips, drop down, double up on those dips. Freak nasty, wanna see, can y'all do it right? I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You put your hand up on my hip.
Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. The mail's here.
All right. So it's mail time, and we do have the first question. Glad wants to know who's winning the WHL. Jet.
Oh, God, that's a good question. WHL is gonna be a toss-up. I'm gonna go Spokane Chiefs.
All right. Aerated.
Honestly, I think the WHL might be the weakest league this season, and therefore I think that the Royals, just based on experience, will probably take it.
Yep.
Any opinion, McCollum?
Is Glad in the WHL?
Yeah.
So not his team.
That'd be the Royals.
Those were poor divvies when they were divvying up the divisions, and they threw all these guys in the W, and they said, all right, we're gonna put them in there with Victoria, and then everyone else we're just gonna throw a bunch of random people. The W's gonna be a rough thing to watch.
You're
Aromatic
fucking
Venus
girl,
and all
dog.
his ex-players, which are just awful.
Just wine, Jed. Fuck.
I'm in the queue. You guys put all the good teams in my division.
Isn't Air Raiders in your division?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Throw me a bone.
Isn't fucking Campos in your division too?
Hey, he's gonna be the worst team. That should be a mail time question.
Aren't
He
all
sucks,
three of
eh?
you guys in the same division?
Yeah, so is Karoxy.
And Karoxy?
We got to get Mike on a Q team, on a separate Q team.
All right. So, the next question comes from B Major. How much will someone spend on a third line scrub that I am?
Is he playing
6
forward?
mil.
Are you playing forward, B Major?
Likely.
Jet.
He lives with you?
We're live here, dude. Live. No, dude, I'm not the one yelling at him to get a clean shirt. All right.
It's one of his kids.
B Major, yeah.
Quietest one.
Fucking
He's
good.
gonna be
I
a
don't know.
$4
My wife
million
says my wife says he's mine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's playing forward. He'll probably go.
Yeah, he's going right wing.
4 million, you think? Really?
Yeah, man, he's
Just
a
name
locker room
alone.
presence. People
Yeah.
love that kid.
Man,
I put
I
him in
love
my locker.
I love that kid too. He's a really good kid, but he's fucking bad at the game.
He fit right in our model.
I don't know if he's Sir Mike Knight bad.
Hey, you're fucking terrible too, and you go for a lot of money, eh?
Because I'm a defenseman, dude. I mean, I'm an active defenseman. That's the only reason why I go for so much money. Because they know I'm going to be active, and I'm a defenseman. I mean,
Now
I
you're stacked.
You
pretend.
missed 2
I
games last
pretend to play defense. I missed 4 games last season.
Jesus.
People just like having Mike's name on their
I-
roster.
you
They
know-
go, oh yeah, that's the
You know, and
Doghouse
that's
guy.
and
They're
those
gonna
are the
talk
first
about me."
those are the first games I've ever missed, ever. If I sign up, I'm always there and ready to show up. Even when I was sent down to the TC for a week, I still played 2 games a week, and I showed up every time. So the next question is Brodie from Glad. Brodie, how did AHL finals go?
Fucking brutal. Brutal. But Glad will never know what the AHL finals fucking look like, so he'd be lucky if he sees what the WHL finals look like. Yeah,
Anybody
what?
can make the WH
What?
finals.
iCheap would like to know how far into the season can I make it on my 10-hour trial that I haven't touched? Jet.
I'd say
If you only play 1 game a week, you can make it all the way through the season.
That's if games start on time.
That's true.
He can just be
Raiders.
in the party and wait.
Raiders
I think he'll make it week 4.
and McDonald.
I don't know. Like, play the fucking game, you loser. Nothing better to do. And you're bad. Like, get better at the game. So you're gonna be the TC. You haven't played the game yet. So now everyone knows that. So you're gonna go the whole season on your trial.
Unless he plays the development games. He can
Yeah.
probably make it week 6 in development game.
He's not doing fuck all.
He'll be the captain of Team Blue all season.
Yeah.
Yeah, not show up just like fucking Falco and Flame.
Raiders, now that you're the official head of player development, are you going to change to red and blue? You put
No,
Team
man.
Raiders and Team Campos.
No, red and
You
blue.
should do
red
Team
and blue
Brodie.
stay.
No, you got to do Team Brodie and Team Triss and just put their faces up as the logos.
It's like Don Cherry and like fucking Bobby Orr. They always
Oh,
do their
man.
games in the CHL.
I got a nice little link for you there, Jet. Somebody captured you real quick. Let me just go ahead and post that. Bam.
Oh, awesome.
Glad screenshotting Jet again.
Yep. he pays close attention to you there, Jet.
He does. He does. Me and him are good friends. Contrary to popular belief.
So B May just says I do always have a clean shirts on deck though. Yeah, that's because your mother yells at you if you don't put on a clean shirt.
I love it.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. Like, okay, when he was on the show, like we sit down, we're ready to go, right? I'm about to start, and his mom starts yelling, and he comes back with a new shirt.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. Like he's better behaved than every one of your fucking kids.
No kidding. He's also twice the age of my oldest, but
So what? He's 12.
yeah.
He was when he started.
I know he was. That's awesome.
Anyway, so unless there's any more questions, I guess we stop. She wasn't yelling, but yeah, that was fucking hilarious. It was hilarious. It was fucking hilarious because obviously Audacity did not let it go.
I got another question.
Motherfucking season. Go ahead.
What's one rule you really want to get implemented somewhere in the near future?
I don't really know. Like I said, like it's been good the last fucking couple seasons. There's not a lot of changes I really want to implement. Like the majority of stuff I'm trying to do is more just like to support what we already have, right? Like I feel like I don't really like changing a lot of stuff at the CHL level because it's a lot of newer people and it's hard if it changes every season. And just we found something that works. I kind of want to stick with it, keep it consistent for all the people that are playing here. And so I don't really have a wish list of what should be adjusted or what. So I don't know, man. I can't really answer that. Expansion, I think, is the biggest thing. Like whether that be the idea we talked about by adding that, the 4th division and whatever. Expansion definitely is the biggest thing in the back of my mind. Just solely based on sign-up numbers. I like us to head down that road just because we have so many players that want to play at this level. It'd be nice to be able to have training camps of like 7 because we have so many other spots, right? So that's pretty much where I'm at.
In a perfect world. B Major, she wasn't too happy I used the shirt that wasn't clean. Did you give it the sniff test though? I mean, you pick up a shirt that's crumpled on the floor or in your hamper and you go, yeah, it's good for another day, right? Like, am I the only one that does that? Come on.
Jet gets all the shirt swag, so
I know, right?
Once, and then that's
New
it.
shirt every day from the Violent Gentleman.
Everyone, violentgentleman.com.
Hey, come on, kick some kickback this way, Violent Gentleman. I mentioned you. All right, let's go. Money. Let's go. Anyway, so unless there's any other questions,
I have a question for Brodie. Don't leave.
okay,
Don't kick me out, Mike.
go ahead.
I have 2 questions for Brodie.
Yeah.
So one of them, a big change in the CHL this year, after the whole Mini Mantha incident, is that we were trying to limit owners from the NHL or high-level players from the NHL and AHL from coming down and owning in the CHL. For the most part, they did a pretty good job. There's obviously a few that slipped through the cracks. Is there any in the future, any sort of set criteria? Or is it always going to be, because it is very, when you look at some of the peoples, it's very arbitrary of who they let through and who they let through. In the end, it's all opinion.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
What? I'm doing exactly what Jet and B Major used to do all the time. Jet's doing it right now. Like, as he's talking to you, he's going like this.
He looks like a priest.
I was like, did B Major just crawl inside you? Oh, yeah, that didn't sound right. That didn't sound right.
That's fucked. He's a minor.
Okay, didn't sound right.
Crispy, cut this. We're done.
All right. Crispy doesn't get to cut. I'm the
It's just
director of this
getting
bitch.
good
I'm the director of this bitch.
There's so many players and people in the CHL. I have no idea. So how that criteria works is I just told Zeno, do what you think is best. Just kind of tell me what criteria you're using, and then if it makes sense, we're gonna go with it. So what he said to me was the criteria they're looking at. Fuck, he told me this like a couple weeks ago. It was based on how many wins a player had or how many points a player had. Mike, am I right?
I wasn't paying attention. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so for vetting owners in the CHL, the criteria used was in regards to player stats, right? Like if they had a season with like
as far as the AHL,
than 3
NHL
losses
go,
or-
if they were any good in the upper leagues, we didn't allow them to take owner.
I think Zeno said something like if they had a season where they had more than 80 points or less than 5 losses or something like that.
Yeah, there was like a rough criteria, but at some point we had to start whittling away some because there were just not enough teams. So I mean, yeah, some of the AHL guys that were just around that we had to cut.
Like
due to having too many options as owner.
Like
now
give
we
an
have
example
none.
Give me an example of someone that you think slipped through the cracks, Jet.
That got management and shouldn't have got management, or that got denied? I think you look at guys. You got to look at Bundy and his team, his management team. He's got 2 really good. First of all, he shouldn't be down there. He's an NHL level defenseman. He shouldn't be in the CHL. I love him to death. He's a good player. And then he's got Barry with him. Barry was a good AHL player. I think Barry had 60 points or something like that. And then Barry went up to the NHL. It was the Ducks, so I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt.
You leave my NHL teammates alone over there in Saskatoon.
See what we talking about? Saskatoon?
Saskatoon Blades, yeah.
I don't even know who the hell you're talking about. Blades.
They're gonna put together a really good team. That's one of my early predictions.
Yeah, I don't know any of them.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, last one. Obviously, esports is a big direction going in the league. I mean, we all saw a post. Everyone's been talking about it. For the people like Raiders that don't have enough thumbs to play in esports and E-League, I think a lot of players, there was a chat in the chat box the other day about people afraid that the CHL was going to get left behind in regards to the whole esports E-League thing. That's going to become LG's main focus and all its assets are going to go there. What's your response?
I think anyone who plays here that doesn't see the future of a more competitive direction and doesn't see 6v6 kind of being premier in that esports direction, I think is living in the past. We're investing some time and some resources into that because we think that's kind of the bigger picture. It's the future of what's going on. But at the same time, that only really appeals to maybe 10% of the community that plays here too. At the same time, this is 28 seasons of like what we've been doing here, and it's at a point now where it basically runs itself. Like some of these questions you guys ask me in regards to what things do I want to change, what rules do I have to be implemented, my answers are like nothing, because we've been doing it so well for so long that I don't see anything that really needs to be changed. In regards to being left behind, ideally I'd like to see it grow to the point where it's tiered just as well as the LGHL is. So we have lower divisions that are CHL caliber that are competitive for those teams to partake in, where they can win prizing. I'd like to see that eventually, but we're obviously just not there yet. And resources, a lot of things. Triz doesn't like to spend time doing stuff for the website that's like really one-dimensional. Like if he's going to make an adjustment, he wants it to be able to work for like A, B, C, D rather than just A. So a lot of the resources and time we spend under the website and stuff like that goes towards everything. So right now we're trying to get this esports stuff off the ground. Excuse me. So it does seem like it's taking a lot of our time and resources, but you have to consider the fact that like this is my 21st season of staff. That's 7 fucking years. Like when I first started this, B Major was like fucking 5 years old. So we put a lot of time and effort to get to where we are, right? And the CHL has grown. Like I can't even believe the fact that when we first started the CHL, it was like 30 teams and it was a shit show. There was a ton of forfeits. It was bad for a long time. It was hard for people to play in. There was a lot of passionate people like you guys that wanted to succeed, and it wasn't really set up to be successful at all. And it took us a long time to get us to a point where we are now, where we can actually sit back and go, you know what? The CHL is pretty self-sufficient. It's created its own environment, its own everything. So for people to think that we're just gonna turn our back and forget about the CHL, I think is unrealistic, because we've been giving everything we could to the CHL to get it to the point where it's at now, where it basically doesn't really need me. Like, it doesn't need us. It's got everything it needs right now, and minor adjustments here and there. Like we said, obviously the biggest concern in the CHL is the sheer volume of players. So how are we going to address that? Add more teams. Add a fourth line. Maybe do both. You know what I mean? Those are things. That's where we are right now at the CHL. When 10 seasons ago, we were like, every second game's a forfeit. People don't want to be here. People are quitting. How do we get information out? We had a lot more serious issues at the CHL 10 or 12 seasons ago than we do right now. So I can understand, there definitely has been a lot of investment put in this esports stuff, because it is the future. We've been talking to sponsors, we've been talking to people. We've already spoken to the NHL. I don't know if I can say that, but I just did. So we've talked to a lot of different people, resources, everything. We've talked to a ton of people, because at the same time, any esports direction LG goes is good for LG, not just the esports league. If the website gets a sponsorship, let's say, that brings in more people, more players, more draw, it's just going to be better for every single aspect of hockey on LG. I'm only going to speak for hockey. That's the only thing that I'm really involved with. So if we bring in a big sponsorship for an esport event, that's going to draw more attention to the website, which is going to bring more players to the CHL, because that's where these players are going to start out. A lot of these guys will jump in and want to play in the big, money tournaments, try to win the big prize, and be the celebrity on the website per se. But a lot of them also have interest to come start playing in these simulation leagues. And a lot of these guys will start out. They have no choice but to start out in the CHL. So I think we're going to see, if anything, it could benefit the CHL, because we'll see a lot of new talent work its way through the LGHL starting in the CHL. It's kind of how I see it right now.
So that was a 20-minute explanation that could have been rounded up into 2 words.
I like it.
Get good.
Get good.
Anyway,
if we get to the point in tier divisions where there's an absolute god-awful Pro Series division or esports division, you got to call it the Sir Mike Knight division.
Okay, so I want to address one thing you said. So you talk about this Bundy guy. He's fucking 13-13 in the AHL. And he was.
The bottom line is
he was 6-18 in the NHL, minus 39. Minus 39.
I was there.
I haven't lost 18 games in fucking 4 games. Four.
You never played with Raiders.
Fuck.
Neither did Bundy.
Nobody played with me.
Yeah, that's what happens when you play in Anaheim.
Okay, so we'll rewind a bit here. So then, season 26, he was 10-14 on Arizona, and that Arizona team was actually pretty good. They made the playoffs, and he was still 10-14. So you're just bitching to hear yourself bitch.
There's a lot. There's a lot of 10-14 NHL players that are way better than a lot of CHL.
Blah blah.
Mark my words, when they're running through that division, you come see me at the end of the season.
Where is he? In the WHL?
Yep.
Right. Didn't you just say the WHL sucks?
Yeah.
So then there you go.
I'm just saying.
I see.
Oh,
He's not a top tier AHL or NHL player, so he should be decent to the AHL management. And if he's a good guy, like you said, he'll probably run a pretty good team, which will be a better experience in the CHL, which will make the CHL better. If you want, we'll move you to that division so you can beat up on him if you want. We'll put a word in with Zeno for you.
No.
Right.
Thanks, appreciate that.
All right, guys. So join us next week at about the same time. We're gonna have Tris on here, and then hopefully after that, maybe Zeno will be available this time, so we can get Zeno in before the season starts, guys. Once the season starts, we will be doing prediction shows after the bidding goes. I know Doghouse doesn't normally do a prediction show, but we will. We'll get a prediction show out, and then after that, it is the Doghouse, as usual. So until next week. Until next week. From myself, Jet, Air Raiders, Brodie, LG, vape away. Yeah. See, here comes Crispy. Here comes Crispy. Crispy, don't worry, we're offline. You can talk now.
I was blowing the smoke out.
I just ripped fucking 300,000 fucking coins with a pack and got nothing. Should have left my game off the whole time we're doing this. I just ripped packs for no reason. Fuck.
That's how you get Twitch followers. You just rip packs all day. People
Yeah, I
love
know, it's crazy, man. People love that
People
shit.
love
Fuck, Audacity's fucked up.
That should be a weekly Audacity segment where Audacity just asks questions to
I was
whatever
thinking
guests
that.
we're gonna have on.
I was thinking that too. Yeah. Yep.
Audacity's question corner.
I would like to see him in real life because I would beat the fucking bag right off him.
We are not offline, by the way.
I don't care. I don't fucking care.
You wouldn't see him in real life. He hides in the basement.
No, he puts his dad in the basement now.
It looks like one of those guys that were like to be on like a fucking Just for Men commercial, or like one of those like herpes medication commercials, like I got herpes and I'm cured. Like that looks like the guy.
I got herpes and now I'm cured.
And I'm done.
Is that how those commercials go?
I don't know. I don't watch them. I don't have cable. I haven't had cable in 5 years. I don't have time to watch TV, man. Those kids have too much time.